Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of U of T Live. I'll be your host today. My name is Josh, and I'm joined today by my colleague Natalie, who's joining us from the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Our episode today is all about the University of Toronto, Mississauga. It is for everyone. It's for applicants, it's for admits, it's for 101s, it's for 105s, it's for international and domestic students. We're really looking forward to helping answer some of your questions. But I always like to get the ball rolling with a question of my own. Natalie, I was wondering if you could give us an update as to where we are in the whole admissions process as of now.
Sure, Josh. Thank you for that really warm welcome. It's good to be on the St. George campus. So in terms of our admission process, if you're a 101 student, so that means you're applying from an Ontario high school, we're reviewing applications in 3 rounds. So the first round will be coming up shortly. If you don't hear from us, it's okay. Don't worry. There are still 2 more rounds for you to be considered for admission. So making sure you're checking your status, making sure you're setting any documents if they're required. If you have any English facility requirements, making sure that you do that, and then completing your residence application by the end of March. For 105 students, so everyone outside of Ontario, whether you're within Canada or in India or China or Colombia, wherever it is that you might be applying from, we're assessing your applications on a rolling basis. So that means from the point that you've completed your application, so sent in all of your required documents, like the things I've just listed, supplemental applications, English facility, transcripts, and grades, we will assess your application as soon as it's complete. So same advice, check the Join portal, make sure that your application is complete, which is, I'm sure, the messaging that everyone gives at this stage in the application cycle, and make sure that we have everything we need to review your application, and also make sure that you're paying attention to that same residence application deadline, regardless if you've heard back from us.
Great.
That's it.
Well, the questions are already rolling in.
Wow.
I guess everybody at home knows that you're the right person to ask. The first question is from a student who's saying that they've received an offer and it's indicated that they've been awarded a University of Toronto Mississauga Entrance Award. Congratulations. And that details would be sent to them by email, but they haven't received those details, and it's been almost 2 months since they received their acceptance. Is there another way to find out the amount and the conditions of the scholarship, and who should they contact?
That's a really good question. So you must have been a really good applicant, and we were very excited to give you an offer, but weren't really prepared to understand what we were going to give you depending on where you were at academically. So the best thing to do is to contact our office directly. In all of your emails, you want to be including your applicant number and any information that might be helpful to us. But our contact email is admissions.utm@utoronto.ca, and just send us a brief description like you just did in the chat and include your applicant number, and I'd be happy, or one of our team members would be happy to follow up with you to see how much money you're going to get, which is exciting.
It's always nice to start off with a good question like that. Another good one here. The question is, do undergraduate applicants need to fill out and submit the Mississauga supplementary application?
Well, there is no Mississauga supplementary application. It's a trick question. So the only program at the Mississauga campus that requires a supplementary application is Theatre and Drama Studies. So if you are applying to Theatre and Drama, that'll be noted. You'll also be receiving an email about that. There are 2 audition weekends. So it's April 21st and 22nd, which is the first weekend, and then the 28th and then 29th. And so you'll be given all the information about how to schedule your audition, and there are very strict guidelines and rules for you to follow and pieces for you to complete. So make sure, again, status check is the end-all and be-all of information.
Another one here. I love this question. It's one that you and I have heard many times in our careers and we'll hear again, and I like answering it. But I want you to answer it today. It's, does the University of Toronto St. George have any particular advantage over the University of Toronto Mississauga?
I think that each campus would have its own advantage depending on what you are looking for as a student, as an applicant, and depending on what your career goals are. So our advice is always about fit. So you want to find A, the campus that is the best fit for you, and B, the campus that has the best program for you to achieve your success and your professional goals. Whether that's UTM, UTSC, or St. George, that's totally up to you. So Mississauga being 40 minutes sort of west of the downtown core, on amazing green campus.
So beautiful.
Yeah, deer roam around. You've probably heard this rumor, which is true. I actually sighted a deer 2 weeks ago, which was actually 3 deer, which is amazing.
Awesome.
As my first UTM deer sighting.
Oh, very cool.
Anyway, so if that's the type of environment you want to study in, we have a lot of unique programs like theater and drama, like I've mentioned, communication and culture. We have business, science, humanities, social sciences. A lot of the programs that you'll find both at St. George and at UTSC. If it is possible for you to come and visit us, we have campus tours from Monday to Friday, twice a week. And we also have a bunch of tours happening during the March and spring break time, so during the March month. Okay. And we have our open house on March 25th. So if you have the opportunity to come and visit us on campus, that's the best way to sort of get a feel for who we are as a campus and what we represent, as well as engage with current students and potentially professors if you come on the open house day.
You know, Natalie, in part of your answer there, you were speaking about what makes UTM unique, and one of the things you highlighted was some of the unique programs at the UTM campus. So our next question follows in that train of thought. Speaking of the forensic science program, the applicant wants to know when offers of admission will be sent out for the forensics program.
So it's not dependent on the program, but rather what admission category you fall under. So if you're a 101 current high school student in Ontario, that'll be done in 3 rounds, the first being around February and the last being in May. If you're a 105 student, it depends on when you complete your application. But further on that, like what makes UTM, I think that it's truly an interdisciplinary campus. So you really can mix and match. It's one of the only campuses that offers a major in business. So you can combine business with another major, which to my knowledge, it doesn't exist at the other 2 campuses. So you really have that flexibility to mix and match. And given that it's much smaller than the St. George campus, much smaller communities for you to engage in. We have varsity sports and everything that all the other campuses offer.
So it was a specific question about a specific program. We're going to go big now. We're going to go broad. And it's a great question. And it's a short one. It says, I've been admitted. What's next?
Yay, you've been admitted. Yeah. Welcome. So what's next? You need to accept your offer formally. So it's not some magical thing that we can telepathically know you'd like to accept. So please make sure you accept the offer on either status check, which will redirect you to the OUAC application, which you originally applied on. And then the next steps would be your residence application. So you want to apply by the end of March to guarantee your spot in residence. There's no financial commitment to completing this. So go ahead and do it even if you're unsure if you want to stay on residence, and then you can decide once you have to put a deposit in. What else is there? Visit our campus, which I talked about already. Connect with our social media. So our UTM Instagram account is run by one of our student ambassadors. So it's a really great place for you to see places on campus. We do Tour Tuesdays on our Insta story. So it's UTM Future. Little plug there. And I'm very proud of our student Amy, who's our communications ambassador, who does Tour Tuesdays and shows all amazing spots on campus. So that's a good place to start. What else? If you're an international student, you want to be applying for your study permit. Make sure that you pay attention to the conditions in your offer and maintaining the grades that we're asking you to maintain. Anything else you can think of?
No, gosh, you're doing a great job. This is why I like hosting when you're here to answer. This is great. Yeah, that's why I asked the question. Here's another good question. Will having taken a course at a private school affect the student's chances of being admitted to the university?
So I'm going to guess the student is applying from Ontario. That's a pretty Ontario question. Yeah. So as long as it's a institution or school that's approved by the Ministry of Education here or elsewhere, then it would be viewed the same. So you just want to be thinking about so in terms of the skills that you're developing, you want to be able to balance a full course load, which is always our recommendation. Because when you come to university, you're going to have to work on balance as well and time management. Another thing to mention is that you have to ensure that grade comes to our office. So if it's not showing up on your high school diploma, then you need to ensure that it's sent to us or posted on the Join portal so that we can review it, especially if it's a prerequisite for admission.
Great advice. Here's another good one, and I like this one because it's been punctuated with 2 question marks, so the students really getting they really need this answer. It says, I've applied back in November, and my application still says pending review. What does this mean?
So it means that it's still has to be reviewed. If you're an Ontario student, we might be waiting for that first grade set of grades that come from through the OUAC.
Yep.
If you're a 105 student, you want to make sure your application is complete. So if you are a 105 student and you feel like everything is complete and there's no updates, you can certainly send us an email and we'll look into it. Again, the email to contact us is admissions.utm@utoronto.ca. Include your applicant number, include your question, and we'll be happy to look into it. And one of our team members will get back to you.
Great. Now, here's another one that I love answering because it talks or speaks to the diversity of our campuses and the experiences that can be offered. A student says, can they be enrolled at the University of Toronto, Mississauga, but still take a few courses at the St. George campus?
Yeah, they can. So you can certainly, and vice versa. If you're a St. George or UTSC student, you can, and you really want to see what forensic science is all about, you can certainly do that. So you can take a select number of courses, but you can't build a program. And what we mean by that is you can't do a minor in forensic science if you're a St. George student, or you can't do a minor in cinema studies at St. George if you're a UTM student, for example. So you're going to be building your program and your degree at your main campus, and then you can take an interesting course here or there at another campus. So yeah.
Great question and great response. Again, you're hitting them all out of the park here. Another one that I've always found makes the University of Toronto Mississauga campus unique is the types of residences that you find at UTM. And so the student's saying, are there dorms at U of T or the just townhouse and apartment style? So maybe you can even introduce us to the concept of the townhouse and apartment style, and then sort of touch on whether or not dorms are available as well.
Yeah, so we have both. So as you enter our campus, you'll see there's a few rows of townhouses for students to live in. So it's a whole house, and you each get your own room, and the houses and the shared spaces are shared by everyone that lives in the house. The dorm style, on the other hand, is exactly that. So there is a dining hall on the main floor, and then upstairs there are typically single bedroom rooms, and then you share a bathroom. We don't guarantee single bedroom occupancy, but we do have a high volume of them. But you always want to be applying by our March 31st guarantee deadline, because the housing does fill up. And then there are a lot of off-campus housing options as well. And we do have a lot of students that commute. So pro tip, your T-card as a UTM student gives you free My Way transit. So it's the transit system in Mississauga. And it gives you free access to the U of T shuttle. Right. So during the week it runs way more frequently, but on the weekend it runs as well. And it's a shuttle to downtown and back to UTM for free.
I just saw the shuttle today when I went out to get a coffee before I spoke with you. Here's another really good question. Students these days, especially with social media, are not living in bubbles. They're not living in isolation. They know that their friends are applying to U of T. They know what's going on with their friends' application because they're hearing from them. So we've got an applicant here who's saying, when should I be worried about not hearing anything about acceptance?
Okay.
So my suspicion is they may have friends who have heard something.
Yes.
And they're getting a little
First of all, don't be worried. So just don't stress about the things that you can't control.
Fair.
Try and focus on the things that you can control. So again, focusing on making sure your application is complete, all of your deadlines are met. If you're an Ontario student, so if you're currently in your final year of high school, the latest that you'll hear is basically mid to end of May. Typically for 105 students, so everyone outside of Ontario, we'd like to make most of our offers before June, but we do have some cases where students might, there might be spaces left in the program, and we'll continue to assess applications beyond then. But again, you can contact us at admissions.utm@utoronto.ca. If you're worried, if it's been more than 8 weeks and you haven't received an update and there's no signs of life on our end, just get in touch with us. We're here to help.
So, big questions, specific questions. That was a big question. Here's a specific one.
Okay.
This applicant definitely knows where they're heading in life. They said, what can I do with a degree in economics? And more specifically, can I still become a CPA?
That is a very specific question. The wonderful thing about the versatility of the sciences, the humanities, the arts, and the mixing of programs. So is that you don't need to decide and know exactly where you're going to go. And in first year at UTM, we give you the flexibility to take your economics, take other courses, and then decide what your passion is. And more importantly, build your degree to what your professional needs might become or be at the time or evolve to become. So in terms of what a specific degree will then translate to into a profession, it's not black and white in that way.
Very true.
And I'm sure it's very much your experience, Josh, is that the experiences that you have in your undergrad inside the classroom and more importantly outside of the classroom really formulate your path. Yeah. So you're involved in maybe student clubs, maybe you're doing work study, maybe you get a research or a lab position, and that leads to a network or a contact that then leads to a job. So we do have a career center on campus that is really helpful. They do workshops and job fairs and internship fairs. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities as well in UTM. So you want to be using that as sort of your anchor, or sort of maybe your stepping stone and your academics as your anchor. In terms of becoming an accountant, that is a very specific question, and it actually has a very specific answer. So our program in accounting is the only sort of pathway to become an accountant. So in relation to your question, if you do economics, if you can be an accountant, the main thing to do is to look on the CPA website, and they have actually all the credentials required. And this is true of a lot of professional degrees. So if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or what else?
Nurse or
a real estate agent.
Sure.
Or there's a few professions that have sort of like a governing body.
That's right.
And the CPA is the one for accounting. And so while you don't need to do an undergrad degree in accounting, you do need to have very specific courses either in your undergrad or get them once you graduate, and then write the CPA exam.
Great points. Very well.
There's a lot of information in a few seconds.
Specific questions sometimes needs a lot of information. Now, speaking of specifics, in my experience, I know that students really like to put a name on something or numbers to something to have that sense of security. And so this student's going right for it, and they're saying, what is the acceptance rate for humanities?
Oh, okay. Well, in terms of an acceptance rate, we can't predict the future, so we don't know the pool of applicants that are coming. We are only starting to get sort of the bulk of our applications and the grades. So what I can give you as an alternative is what our admissions averages were last year as an indicator of how they might be this year. It does fluctuate from year to year. So some years there's a spike in one program, some year there's a dip. So last year for humanities, it was high 70s to low 80s within all the required courses.
Great. Well, that was a great segue into the next question, which was, could you give us the same grade ranges for the life science applicants?
Life sciences, I would say that's probably about low to mid 80s average. And I'm sorry, I'm giving it in percentages out of 100. We might be speaking to audiences that have different grading scales. Maybe you have A's or B's. Maybe you have a scale out of 20 or 10. So again, what we're looking for is pretty strong performance. And then we're looking at those prerequisite subjects. And we're also looking at your academic record. So seeing that you have sort of a consistent academic performance. If you're looking for specific requirements from your curriculum, the future.utoronto.ca website is really helpful for that. But it can change every year. So, for example, last year we saw a big spike in our computer science averages, which I'm sure really across the board. We've noticed that at the University of Toronto because we offer such an amazing program in computer science. So it's tough to say. I know that doesn't give you a lot of comfort and maybe makes you a little bit more anxious, but just work and do your best in your final year, and hopefully that results in strong grades and therefore the decision that you're hoping for.
We
were all there. We were all in your place. We
Yeah.
understand the anxiety.
That's true. That's a good point to bring up. Here's another sort of great question. When is the latest date that a student can accept their offer of admission?
So that'll be very clearly indicated on your offer letter. So that's another reason to read all of the offer. I know sometimes it feels long.
Yeah.
It's more than one page sometimes. So read all the conditions, read your offer letter clearly, make sure that you're following all the deadlines to accept your offer and whatnot. So it really depends on when you received your offer of admission. So all I can say is read your offer letter.
So we're speaking of professional schools a few answers ago, and you brought up a great example of a professional school, which would be a lawyer or law school. And I have a feeling this next applicant may be heading that direction because they're asking a very lawyer-esque question. They're saying, if I click accept my offer, will this be binding?
It's binding in that you've reserved a space at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. If you don't indicate otherwise, that would be a spot that goes unfilled by potentially a deserving applicant who is really looking forward to. So I would say accept your offer, and then if that's something that you want to do, of course, accept your offer. And if you change your mind, let us know as soon as possible, so then we can offer that place to another student. And then there are financial commitments in residence and whatnot that come later on. But in terms at this point, there's nothing we can do. If you change your mind, that's okay.
So another question here, speaking of sort of that March 31st deadline for residents, what if a student hasn't yet received an offer of admission by that March 31st deadline?
That is such a good question, and I'm so glad you asked it because it doesn't matter. Even if you don't know if you're coming to UTM, if you haven't received an offer, if you're deciding between a few universities, just fill it out.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is to have the guarantee and then afterwards opt out, then to backtrack, because after March 31st, we can no longer guarantee you a place at one of our dorms.
So you don't need to wait for that offer of admission to go ahead with that.
Thank you for making that clear.
Really, really good. Yeah. Sorry, I'm always
just
trying to
hammer
keep
it home. Just fill it out if you have any inkling to potentially live on residence.
Yeah, great. So here's a question from a 101 applicant through the OUAC, and they're saying that they haven't yet done their prerequisites, but they are doing them in their second semester, which starts in about a week. Does this affect their application in any way?
So we would see that you're enrolled in all of those courses on your transcript. So we'll have that information. In terms of how it will affect, if you have a prerequisite in the second semester, we might wait to see your performance in that. But again, because you're a 101 student, we have 3 distinct rounds of admissions, and the bulk of them go out in the second and third round.
Great. 2 questions sort of in a row here about computer science. We'll start with the first. It says, can I complete a computer science degree in less than 4 years? And is it allowed for a student to take sort of extra subjects or a heavier course load?
So I'm just going to go to the second, like the 4 years question. So all of our degrees at U of T are structured in a way that you could complete them in 4 years. So typically what you're doing is 5 credits a year for 20 credits to graduate in 4 years. But if you're the type of student that wants to reduce course load, maybe they'll take 4 credits in the year and 1 in the summer, or they'll take 4 credits over 5 years. There isn't really pressure for you to finish in those 4 years. So if you want to finish in 4 years, most of our students do, and you're free to do that. And it's definitely very doable. Did you do your degree in 4 years?
Yes, I did.
I did mine as well. But if you don't, that's okay as well. And so you can change your course structure however way you feel.
Great.
In terms of computer science, again, you can do it within those 4 years.
Right, so the second part of this double computer science question,
the extra subjects question,
is what governs a student's ability to take extra subjects or sort of go above and beyond that minimum course load? How do we navigate this?
I certainly wouldn't recommend taking more than the recommended course load, especially in your first year. First year is a transition year. You're dealing with a different academic system, different standards, different expectations. And on top of that, maybe a different city, maybe a different country, different people. So definitely take it easy in your first year. But if you wanted to add more than the recommended course load, you can do that, but it's, again, not recommended. In terms of taking extra courses outside of computer science, the way that most of our programs are structured are done that you can take electives virtually every year. You could potentially do a major or a minor, so you can have different combinations. So I guess I should say what those things mean.
Sure, yeah.
So a minor,
Context is everything.
so a minor, a major, and a specialist are the three ways that we categorize our program of studies. So specialist means that you're going to concentrate most of your course load in one specific area. So computer science, about 3/4 of your course load is just going to be dedicated to computer science, and you still have a quarter to make do electives and go crazy.
Sure.
Take a visual arts course or something. The second combination is a double major. So that's about a combined, again, between two subjects. So you maybe want to combine computer science and economics. And then that still leaves you some room for electives. And the third combination is a major and two minors. So it has the most versatility in terms of the subjects that you're going to be exposed to. And still, even that combination leaves room for electives. So I did a double major in my undergrad. What combo did you do?
I did a major and two minors.
There you go. So every student is different. That's the great thing about U of T, is that there are usually no two students alike in terms of their academic path, because there are so many amazing options. So take that first year to explore. You don't actually have to decide any of these three combinations until the end of your first year. So that should take some stress off in terms of feeling like you need to decide everything right
now. So this is another good question. It's specifically about computer science, but I think the answer will apply to sort of a wide range of programs. How does computer science at the Mississauga campus, for example, compare to the computer science program at St. George? So how would two programs that are by name essentially the same be different at two of our campuses?
So the first thing that I would advise, if you're potentially looking at applying or have applied to both, would be to look at the courses that are offered at both departments. And through that, you might see which computer science department has more of the stream that you think that you'd prefer. Just by nature, the Mississauga campus is much smaller, and our computer science department is much more intimate than the St. George one. So we have a lot of our students that say how connected they are to professors. They're in really interesting competitions. We have a 3D printing lab in our CompSci building, as well as within our iCube business startup, which is in our business building. So we have a few opportunities for our computer science students to engage with our professors a little bit closer in smaller classroom experiences, a little bit more hands-on. We have some interesting courses in game design, but I would say the size is a big difference, and then looking at the courses that are offered at each and seeing which one is more tailored to what your interests are.
Great. Now, I've encountered a number of students that get a little bit panicked when they see these sort of additional document fields on their status check page.
Yes.
And so we've got one of those concerned students here that's saying if they see these additional document fields, are they expected to submit something? Is this sort of a secret message that we're saying you should be giving us?
No. So we actually created that in the event that you need to give us an additional document. So by no means, we actually very consistently give you the messaging that don't send us anything we don't need. That delays your application, delays your decision, and nobody wants that, Josh.
No.
It just delays the process if we get more information than we need, because we have to review all of that information.
That's right.
So don't send us anything we haven't asked for. The additional fields is if something comes up and we need to give you the room to add something.
That's great. Now, what if a student's status says that their application has been reviewed? How long should they expect to wait until they hear an admissions decision from us?
So if it's under review, it's tough to say, but if
what if it's application review?
If it's been reviewed, there's usually an update on the notes section, and there's probably something that you need to give us. So if it's under review and there's no decision made, if it's been reviewed and there's no decision made, whereas under review means that it's currently being reviewed for a decision.
Perfect description. That's great.
Is that clear?
Yeah, no, it's very clear. Now, here's a good question. Are there any representatives from the University of Toronto Mississauga coming to the British Columbia high schools anytime soon?
We were actually just there.
Ah.
Yeah. So we were there in November, in the fall. And we do have some plans to attend potentially an event later on in the academic year. So stay tuned to your emails. If we're coming to you, we'll let you know. And you can also check on our events page. But we did visit the BC high schools, but we're also happy to chat over phone or email if that's something that students would like.
Great. Yeah, it's always easy to reach out and get in touch with someone like Natalie or myself. Here's another good question. I love these questions about different types of curriculums. Would the university see which courses an applicant has taken as an AP course, and do we take that into consideration when assessing admissions averages?
So we do see if your school has inputted the course information properly, then we will see if it's an AP or IB or whatever sort of curriculum it is. And in terms of if it adds any advantage, we always recommend that students do the curriculum that they're going to perform the best in. So if you can't perform strongly in an enriched curriculum, perhaps you should do or consider doing just the regular curriculum that's offered at your school. If you are performing very well at an enriched curriculum, so an AP, for example, and you do the AP exam and you score at a certain level, we might consider you for transfer credits. So there is information online about transfer credits. Those are assessed usually at the point of admission. But that's the only benefit it would give you, is to maybe have some advanced standing in your first year.
Great. So we've got time for maybe 2 or 3 final questions here.
Okay.
This is a great one. How do the joint University of Toronto-Mississauga Sheridan programs work?
So I adore our joint programs. They're really amazing because, lots of love for our joint programs. Producer Steve loves our joint programs as well. So they're really, and it shows the innovation and how responsive UTM is to our student needs. So the Sheridan program specifically in communication, culture, and information technology, it allows our students to delve into these subject areas. We have a few areas of specialization, and allows our students to combine the theoretical with the practical. So you'll have your degree at the University of Toronto-Mississauga, where you'll do concepts and theory and debate and discussion, and then you'll also have classes at Sheridan College and do hands-on work. So it's really the best of both worlds, and you're still completing your degree in 4 years with 2 credentials at the end of that 4-year period. You apply directly to UTM, and then we have a free shuttle from UTM to Sheridan College for all of those courses. So
It's really the best of both worlds.
it is. It really allows our students that need sort of that both of those skills, and especially for a program like culture and technology, and especially for a program like theater and drama, where you need that active part as well as the theory part to be successful in your role in the future.
Great. Oh, last question here before we let you get back.
Talk too much.
Yeah, no, it's something I'm often accused of, and certainly not you. Can we talk a little bit about diversity at UTM? We've got an applicant here who says, is the University of Toronto-Mississauga a diverse place?
Yes, it is. Mississauga itself is an incredibly diverse place. Food from all over, which you can order to your dorm if you'd like.
It's the best.
Yes. But our student population is incredibly diverse. Not only is it representative of our diverse population here in Canada and the GTA, but we also have a wide range of international students that now call UTM their home. So we have an active student body. We have International Student Center on campus that helps support our students, and transition advisor, and immigration advisor as well if you need. But yes, very diverse. We actually have lots of food on campus that's diverse. So we have ramen on campus, which is one of my favorite things to eat for lunch. But we have sort of a mix of everything. So it's a really great eclectic place. Students from around the world and around Canada and around Toronto, with so many different interests that all come together and make up the UTM family.
Very cool. Well, that's all you need to hear from me. It's been awesome having you here back in the OSR, Natalie.
Thank you.
We're always excited to see you. But maybe I'll give you the last word. Let the applicants know how they can reach out to you and the good folks at your office, and then we'll sign off.
So feel free to contact us. I think producer Steve copied the email there for you to contact us, and we'd be happy to help you. If you go on our website, the UTM Future website, you have all of the contacts for our student ambassadors as well as our recruiters, and we have a list of events that you could come and attend if you're in the area or coming to visit us. We'd be happy to meet you on campus. But that's it for me. Good luck with your applications. Congratulations to those of you who have received offers, and hopefully we'll see you in September.
Thank you very much.